Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first annual Think Different Awards ceremony and private screening of the short film Brainstorms aboard the USS Midway, presented by the Resurrecting Lives Foundation. I'm Chad Jenkins, and I will be your host for this evening. At this time, Command Sergeant Major Mike Hall will be leading us in an opening prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Command Sergeant Major Hall.
I'd ask if you rise, if you don't mind. Heavenly Father, we know that all good things in this world come from you, and we thank you for your blessings of bringing this wonderful group of people together to do your will for the greater good. And Father, we know that true healing only comes from you. And we ask that you continue to bless those with visible and invisible wounds, that you continue to be with their families, and that you continue to work through their medical professionals. Lord, I thank you for always being with us, and I pray that we'll always be with you. I pray all these things in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, you're good. Just a little segue. Command Sergeant Major Hall actually was on a mission with my Ranger platoon one night in Iraq, and we haven't met since that time frame. And it's an honor to be able to have you come tonight and to meet you in person. So thanks a lot. This evening would not have been possible without our two corporate sponsors, Southwest Airlines and Steel Power Tools. On behalf of the Resurrecting Lives Foundation, a special thank you to two board members who are here with us this evening as well. Stan Crater, an accomplished author and the original board member of Resurrecting Lives. Stan never ceases to amaze us in finding creative ways to support the mission, including getting huge national sponsors like Steel and Southwest. Additionally, Colonel Skylar Burgess is here tonight. Skylar of Deloitte has worked tirelessly with Central Ohio employers to make Ohio workplaces better for veterans transitioning into civilian life. Thank you both, gentlemen, for being here tonight. And so the million-dollar question: why are we here in San Diego aboard the USS Midway? Whose idea could it be to bring a bunch of Midwesterners from the cold in mid-November to beautiful San Diego? It could be none other than our fearless leader, Dr. Chrisanne Gordon. She doesn't like applauses, so I'm already ad-libbing, so we might have to do that a couple times this evening. But why here? Why in San Diego? San Diego is the perfect cross-section of a location that is historically and continually developing emerging medical technologies, while being the largest location for transitioning military service members into the civilian ranks once again. It is here that medicine meets military and changes lives. So it is fitting to host the first annual Think Different Awards ceremony here in San Diego. But first, let us reflect for a moment on Dr. Gordon's vision and the history of Resurrecting Lives Foundation. In her own words, we honor the fallen heroes by caring for their brothers and sisters who return. I think that is worth repeating. We honor the fallen heroes by caring for their brothers and sisters who return. The two fallen heroes who are the inspiration behind the founding of Resurrecting Lives Foundation are Sergeant Zachary McBride, who at 20 years old was killed in action in Sinsil, Iraq on January 9th, 2008, and Staff Sergeant Brian Piercy, who at 28 years of age was killed in action in the Arghandab River Valley in Afghanistan on July 19th, 2010. Tonight, Carol Berberick, Brian's mom, is here with us this evening. Carol, thank you for coming and thank you for being here. You see, after 20 years of war, over 750,000 veterans currently struggle with the aftershocks of their service, traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder. The consequences of untreated TBI are swift and unforgiving. They include substance abuse, unemployment, homelessness, and the most devastating consequence of all, suicide. Just recently, the military released data showing that deaths by suicide have outnumbered deaths by combat by a staggering ratio of 4-to-1, with over 30,000 veterans of the global war on terrorism dying by their own hands. With the isolation and anxiety of COVID-19, civil unrest, and the chaotic withdrawal of Afghanistan, Resurrecting Lives Foundation feels compelled to educate the public about these issues facing our veterans. Established in 2012, Resurrecting Lives Foundation has led the charge in bringing awareness and educating both veterans and the greater public to the signature and visible wound of war, traumatic brain injury. From funding the landmark TBI research study by Dr. Michael Lipton in 2013, which defined the brain injury sustained by IED blasts, to the screening of the first documentary, Operation Resurrection, on Capitol Hill to bring awareness of TBI to Congress, Resurrecting Lives Foundation and their veterans have been relentless in their pursuits to bring awareness to those who can make a change in our country. From the foundation's role in getting federal legislation passed recognizing TBI to kickstarting the employment initiative with Central Ohio companies, to, of course, where we are at this very moment with the Think Different Awards and the short film brainstorms later this evening. One thing is for certain: you will not find another individual or foundation who is more passionate, driven, and relentless in making a difference in the lives of our nation's veterans than Dr. Chris Ann Gordon and the Resurrecting Lives Foundation. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to this very moment right now, to the moment you've been waiting for, the Think Different Awards presentation. There will be a quick video to show the inspiration of the Think Different Awards. Can we please cue the Apple video? Nothing to see here, ladies and gentlemen, nothing to see here. It wouldn't be a live event if we didn't have some type of little difficulty. No problem.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
The Think Different Awards are designed to honor individuals who have taken extraordinary action to make a lasting impact in the lives of those with TBI. These honorees tonight include Coach Lou Holtz, NCAA football coach, 1988 NCAA national championship coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, ESPN analyst, and an Army veteran himself. U.S. Navy flight and clinical psychologist, combat veteran, author, and chief clinical officer of Psych Armor Institute, Dr. Heidi Squire Kraft. Vernon E. Davis II, also known as Longhorn the Comedian, a Desert Storm veteran and founder of Thank You for Your Service, a nonprofit organization that has thanked over 23,000 veterans worldwide. And finally, Daniel Carcillo, Chicago Blackhawks hockey player and founder of TBI pharmaceutical company Wasana. Also being recognized tonight under the organization awards are Veterans Airlift Command and Three Rangers Foundation. Let's give them a round of applause. Receiving tonight's first Think Different Award is Coach Lou Holtz. Coach needs no introduction as he is a household name, but it's his words that have helped to inspire both patient and physician, veteran and civilian, young man and wise woman during the toughest of times. You see, Coach Holtz was an inspiration and the conduit between Dr. Gordon and many of her veteran patients during consultations. One of Coach Holtz's quotes in particular, "Remember, every day some ordinary person does something extraordinary. Today it's your turn," has helped to give that struggling veteran a sliver of hope when it was needed the most. And for Dr. Gordon, it was the quote, "The price of leadership is responsibility. And part of that responsibility is to stay positive, whether you feel like it or not," has kept her going over all of these years and continues to do in serving our veterans. So it is with that, we now present the first award to Coach Holtz. Coach Holtz was unable to make it tonight as he's in Orlando, Florida, but he videoed this special message that he wanted to present tonight for you all. And here is that video at this time.
I want to thank the Resurrecting Life Foundation for honoring me with their first Think Different Award. The things the foundation does is absolutely tremendous. There's a great need for what they're trying to accomplish. Do you realize that 30,000 fallen heroes have committed suicide? This is completely unacceptable. It operates in 29 different states. What they do, they try to take care of the fallen heroes by caring for them. There's so many problems they have when they come back. We're talking about homelessness. We're talking about drug problems. We're talking about people that are incarcerated, and also people that have suicidal thoughts. The reason this award means so much to me, as an officer in the Army, I've traveled to 13 different countries to visit with our troops. Why do I do that? Because I realize the tremendous sacrifice that they and their families make. When you go to Korea, for example, for a year, you never get a chance to come home for vacations, for holidays, for children's birthday, marriages, etc. They pay a tremendous sacrifice, and we just sort of take it for granted that they're going to keep us free all the time. I have no idea why I was given this award, and there are many more people that are far more deserving. But there's none that's more appreciative and humbled by it. When we think about our obligation to other people, we think about our family. We also need to think about the military, because they do so much to keep us safe, but also be able to live a normal, typical life. We take those things for granted. So I really appreciate the Resurrecting Life Foundation by honoring me with this award, and I hope that you, along with many others, will support the Resurrecting Life Foundation. Because remember, if there's no money, there is no cause. This is a great cause. We have to have your help as well. Thank you, and I'm sorry I couldn't be with you in person because of the problems we have with the epidemic, etc. But we have to keep pursuing and doing the best we can. That's what makes America great. We care for other people. When you have love and feeling in an organization, is unbeatable, whether it be a team, the military, or the citizens of this great country. Let's help the following heroes. Thank you so much.
Receiving the second Think Different Award this evening is Dr. Heidi Squire Kraft. Heidi is the author of the book Rule Number 2, which released in 2012 as Resurrecting Lives Foundation was getting started. It is a memoir from her deployment to Western Iraq in 2004 with a Marine Corps surgical company, while her twin children, Brian and Meg, were only 15 months old. Heidi was instrumental in helping Chris Ann understand the invisible wounds of war from someone who had experienced this firsthand and was able to approach the injuries from both a clinician and a patient perspective. Her encouragement early on meant everything to the origins of the foundation, and we recognize her for her ability to think different and speak out regarding these injuries in a way that raised awareness for diagnosis and treatment early on. Presenting Dr. Kraft with her award tonight is Connie Pillage. Connie is a veteran of the Air Force, an attorney, and served 3 terms in the Ohio House of Representatives, as well as serving as a board member on the Resurrecting Lives Foundation. She remains active in public service and promotes veteran issues throughout Ohio. Dr. Heidi Squire Kraft. To meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Absolutely. And then if you want to speak, I'll give you the mic. Oh, let's do it. I don't know if we do. Chris Ann, do we have a photographer?
Paul's got a cell phone.
We have an iPhone real quick.
Paul's ready.
That's a good idea.
No, you got to hold this.
Oh, I do. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You're the
Oh, that's so pretty. Oh my gosh.
Isn't that gorgeous?
It's gorgeous.
Chris Ann. I got to be taller because I'm next to her.
Or she can talk at the podium?
Sure.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you so much. I forgot how much I love the Midway. I live in San Diego, and we take it for granted, kind of to your point about taking things for granted. It is a beautiful night, and I'm so glad that so many of you are able to be here. Chris Ann, where are you? Oh, there she is. Like, look, I'm completely blinded. So it's been a long journey you've been on, my friend. And I'm so privileged, really, very, very privileged that you feel that my experience meant something to the creation of this incredible organization that you've started and that you've maintained, and all the people that you've helped because of your passion. It is really a great honor to hear from you that something about my experience mattered in the beginning of all this. I'm privileged and honored and humbled by this award, and it brings me back. It was 17 years ago that I deployed to Iraq when my babies were so little. And it's still, in many ways, it feels like yesterday, it feels like someone else's lifetime ago, all in the same moment. So especially kind of magical to be here on a flight deck where, for me, it all started with all of you, and know how much you care about your continued support of our veterans who have suffered invisible wounds and their families. Thank you so much for continuing to support Chris Ann and all the amazing work she's doing, and for your great and steadfast support of our military members, our veterans, and their families. Thank you, and God bless America.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm going to go off script once again because Heidi actually was a flight psychologist and did over 100 hours in the FA-18 Hornet, correct? I read that, and I got to say, I'm a bit jelly. I always wanted to be a fighter pilot. I love Top Gun. It's my favorite movie to this day. Call sign Charlie. My wife Emily is in the background. She's, so I was very jealous of that, and as a former Army Ranger infantry guy, I thought that was quite telling, and to be aboard the USS Midway is awesome. So thank you, Heidi. Receiving our third Think Different award is the one and only Longhorn the Comedian, aka Vernon E. Davis II, a U.S. Army combat medic and TBI survivor himself. In the midst of the isolation of the pandemic and increased angst over the state of the nation, veterans were increasing their isolation and despondency. Resurrecting Lives Foundation and other fellow veterans decided to do something about it. With the assistance of the Warrior Workout Network, Longhorn established an online comedy troupe with virtual performances on Saturday nights to improve the mental and physical health of all those participating. Supported by Marine veteran and Ohio native Drew Carey, this loyal group of emerging comedians came together in healing. Many of them have followed Longhorn's example and are taking their acts on the road for the benefit of veteran nonprofits and Gold Star families like Carol and Joe Berberick, who attended each of these online performances. Presenting the Think Different Award to Longhorn are Andrew Young and Rob Will. Andrew is a medically retired Army Scout, father of 3, and co-host of the Warrior Workout Network podcast. Rob is a U.S. Army veteran, brain injury survivor, and was the backbone of the RLF virtual comedy tour during the pandemic of 2020. Longhorn the Comedian.
Is this on? Okay. All right. We did. We're going to need to exchange trophies. Somebody misread the other trophy. My name is Rob Will, and when I was asked by Resurrecting Lives Foundation to present an award here on the Midway, I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. And I cleaned that up a lot. But I also asked, how much time do I have? Keep in mind, I have zero experience presenting anything ever to anybody. But the reply was 2 minutes. And I know me, and 2 minutes can be an eternity. So here's my presentation. I met Mr. Davis, Longhorn the comedian, at a barber shop. No, I'm kidding. I met him at a comedy show, a life-changing comedy show, in my wife's hometown, but there was a barber shop across the street, all right? After the show, I told him, I said, I'm going to bring you up to my part of the world, Western New York. He'd never been there. And he said, that'd be great, and if it's for veterans, I'm all for it. So we brought him up. It happened. I picked him up at the airport, immediately took him to the honeymoon capital of the world, where he proposed we get out of the cold and go get some lunch, because I brought him up in February. It was bitter cold. But we did our couple shows, had a good time, raised a lot of funds for some veterans to heal in their process, and now I'm here. So I lost track of my notes. That's what my brain injury does sometimes. Bear with me. I know it's right here. I also took him to the National Comedy Center. That's in Jamestown, New York. It's a place for all Americans, but comedians love it because it's where the history of comedy is stored. And it's very important and healing to have comedy, more than most of us know. So we went there. I lost my notes. Okay, but finally, I hope it's not going to be frowned upon, but I'm going to steal a different quote from Coach Holtz. I can't believe God put us on this earth to be ordinary. Congratulations, Longhorn. You're living proof, brother.
Thanks, bro. So, you gonna say anything?
I was asked not to speak.
You was asked not to speak. Should I use this one or should I use this one? I'm gonna go with the hand mic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, y'all, a round of applause for Rob and Andrew, Dr. Gordon, because see, what happened was, yeah, you got the wrong trophy. Yes, you do. So, what happened was, I got a phone call, I got an email from Rob. Rob allowed me, it's often that we as comedians say, hey man, I'm gonna get you somewhere, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and it actually happens. Rob is one of the few that actually did what he said he was gonna do. And what that has led to is to been other great opportunities, such as this. I am humbled, beyond pale. I mean, I'm touched in ways that I can't even imagine, because when I got the phone call from Rob, all he said was, or the email, he says, hey, we're gonna tell some jokes, we're gonna help some comedians, we're gonna help some veterans with traumatic brain injury. All I said was when and where. Now, he asked me to do a Zoom comedy show. Doing a Zoom comedy show is probably about the same as taking your grandmother to the prom. You could do it, but you're probably gonna be looked at a little weird. So, but we did this. And I too, yes, I'm an Army veteran, I'm a combat vet. But I'm more than that. He made mention of history. I am the great-grandson of a Buffalo soldier. I'm the grandson of a Tuskegee airman. I'm the son of a Vietnam veteran. I am fourth-generation Army. My daughter, our daughter, my beautiful wife is here in the audience as well. Y'all give her a round of applause, man. I got to go home with her, okay? But our daughter is fifth-generation Army, so the military is our business. So when someone calls me and says, hey, I need X, Y, Z. And if they drop veteran in there, pretty much I'm going to make it happen. Why? Because you're looking at, well, yeah, I still got a knot in the middle of my head from where I got smacked with the hatch of an APC, Armored Personnel Carrier, being a combat medic. I'm going to set my hat down for a second. I was a homeless vet. When I got out the Army, yes, I was a homeless vet. And why? Because they didn't have any they had programs when I got out the military, but they weren't programs that were, let's just say the information wasn't shared as readily as it is now. So I had to suffer through that. Yeah, I'm one of those. But I'm one of those vets, even though I was not the best soldier. I continue to serve. And how do I continue to serve? I continue to serve by answering the call. Sergeant Major, thank you. Doctor, thank you. Anybody else that's here in uniform, thank you. And I've done 3 tours of Germany entertaining the troops. And on my second tour coming back, I was in Atlanta, and I noticed this unit coming back from Afghanistan, and people were clapping, going, "You go USA, thank you for your service." But one thing I noticed that nobody did was walked up and put something in a veteran's hand. And I said, I'm gonna change that. So not only am I good looking, which I am, I'm kind of smart. So I sat down at my computer in 2012, and my wife and I created an organization called Thank You for Your Service. And what we do, we came up with a way to thank veterans. It's a thank you card. As simple as a thank you card. And there's a dog tag in it. Matter of fact, I've presented it to a few people tonight. And there's a dog tag in it that says, "Thank you for your service and sacrifice. You are appreciated." And we have awarded that to 23,000 veterans worldwide. And I cannot tell you the number of hugs and handshakes and tears that have been shed just from a simple gesture of thank you. So my thing to you tonight is to say, not only say thank you for this wonderful award, because I've gotten a lot of things, but to come to San Diego, which was also a bucket list city for me, on purpose, and not because I'm in witness relocation, to spend time with people that I don't know, because I don't know you, but if you wore a uniform, I am your brother and you are my sister. But to be here with people who are united under the cause of TBI. Because I talk to veterans. I'm also a keynote speaker. I actually tell my story about veteran suicide survival. I actually planned my own demise. But I actually speak about it to other veterans. And I have a veteran right now that calls me from Virginia. I don't know his name, but he got my phone number and he calls me and he talks to me and he goes, "Okay, that's enough. All right, bye," and hangs up. But I answer every time he calls. So, yes, I could talk to y'all because I'm excited. I'm excited that there are people. Thank you, Skill. Appreciate it. Thank you, Southwest. I flew first class. Yeah, I sat in the first seat right there. Thank you. And thank each and every one of you that took the time out of your life to be here. This may be nothing to you. To guys like me, Rob, Andrew, this is beyond amazing. And I am honored and privileged to be here. But I would be even more honored and privileged if you would just continue to support and stand behind every veteran. Because if you won't, I will. God bless y'all.
Hey, thank you, Longhorn. That was wonderful. Appreciate it.
Got a trophy.
Let's give one more round of applause to Longhorn the comedian. I would now like to take a moment to recognize our 2 organization award recipients of the Think Different Awards. They are Veterans Airlift Command and 3 Rangers Foundation. Veterans Airlift Command deserves a special salute tonight from Resurrecting Lives Foundation, for they were the first veterans nonprofit to collaborate with RLF for safe travel of veterans with TBI who were unable to use public transportation. The VAC provides free air transportation to post 9/11 combat veterans and their families for medical and other compassionate purposes through a national network of volunteer aircraft owners and military pilots. Founder Walt Fricke and Columbus pilot Tim Fida give a special shout out tonight to Christopher Lawrence, Marine and RLF ambassador. Christopher utilized these services, and we'd ask him to stand up at this time to accept our applause on behalf of Veterans Airlift Command and the warriors they transport to safety. Christopher. And now, 3 Rangers Foundation. In her experience as a veterans advocate, there are 2 types of responses Dr. Gordon typically receives: the fearless and the fearful. The fearful close their door and lock it forever. The fearless keep it slightly ajar just in case there's an opportunity to be helpful. And then there's Command Sergeant Major Mike Hall of 3 Rangers Foundation, who, despite his special ops training that made him fearless, but appropriately cautious of the innovative healing she was proposing, he decided to take the door off the hinges and always provide open mentorship for all things military. And his guidance has made all the difference in the thousands of veterans' lives, providing employment, mentorship, and futures for Rangers throughout the nation. Command Sergeant Major Hall, please accept our heartfelt applause for your continued service. And now, the final recipient of the Think Different Awards this evening is Mr. Dan Carcillo. Dan is the founder of Wasana Corporation. As a former Chicago Blackhawks left winger and winner of 2 Stanley Cups in 2013 and 2015, Dan thinks different and unconventionally by developing protocols for short-term microdose use of psychedelics, which are being utilized as effective treatments for PTSD and TBI. Dan is unable to be here tonight in person, but he wanted to extend his heartfelt appreciation and send us this acceptance video on his behalf.
Hey everyone, apologies I couldn't be there in person to accept the Think Different Award, but I appreciate, number one, everybody's service in this room, and I appreciate you acknowledging myself and Wasana and my story in the way of breaking down barriers and taking a much needed outside of the box approach to recovering my brain health and my quality of life over the last 7.5 years. I think that the number one thing that TBI survivors need is hope. And the way that I've communicated to my following on this 7.5-year journey about TBI is that we can talk about things that work and that don't work, and we have to, because we have to provide hope to others. I don't know what's going to work for people sometimes, but I give them a laundry list of 30 to 40 things to do and to try, and encourage them to have a positive outlook on life and their injury. I retired in 2015 from the NHL after my 7th diagnosed concussion. I was dealing with things like light sensitivity, slurred speech, headache, head pressure, insomnia, impulse control issues, cognitive issues, problem-solving issues, anxiety, depression, and ultimately suicidal ideation. I remember sitting in my living room I had a roof over my head, 3 young kids who were all healthy wife, had a car in the driveway, somewhat financially stable. And I thought, this was 2.5 years ago, that I'd gotten to the end of the road, that there were no more treatments for me to try. And the only other solution to unburden my family and to make sure that my kids didn't see me raise them in the manner that I was to go. And luckily, it's always teammates helping teammates, right? I'm sure that everybody knows that in this room. And it was a former teammate that reached out, told me to try psilocybin, come to this farm, and I knew that it was FDA, a designated FDA breakthrough therapy designation, and so the MDMA is in phase 3 for PTSD, and ketamine is a Schedule 3, and so I knew that it could help, and I took that invitation, and that was 2.5 years ago. My life's never been the same. It's constantly improving because I'm constantly working on it. There is, I don't think, going to ever be a point where I'm not trying to get better every single day. The biggest thing that this medicine did for me, and I call it medicine because that's what it is it helped me shift perspective of my world and my injury, allowed me to not fight everything and everybody around me anymore. And it showed me that I was the creator of my own heaven and hell, and that I could shift the way that I was operating and interacting with people, places, and things. And I've never been happier. 6 months into this journey, I got a brain scan that told me that I had no more abnormalities. I'm going to continue to stay on this regimen, and it's allowed me to be able to, speak and communicate clearly, create a company to address problems, to build clinics, because there's treatments right now as we develop these pharmaceuticals. But I'm going to tell everybody in this room that you're looking at a person that will fight to get an FDA-approved pharmaceutical that does not have crippling side effects like other anxiolytics and antidepressants through the FDA process and delivered through our clinics in combination with exercises, supplementation, diet, a lot of the holistic things that other companies will not tell you about. Right now, there's functional neurology. There's a lot of things available to communities that are suffering from traumatic brain injury and symptomology. So I encourage everybody to follow up, and I'll follow up with Chrisanne. And if there's anything that I can do to point people in the right direction, that's my life's purpose, is to just continue to provide hope and hopefully alleviate suffering, both with the patient and the caregiver. And so my wife's open to talking to caregivers, and I'll leave it on this. I'm from Canada originally, 7,500 person town, and I sit here today interacting with people that create our medications and then deliver it through our big healthcare systems. And I'm a 36-year-old guy that has the opportunity, with the support of communities like yours, to be able to influence big healthcare in the way that we treat people in this system. And for that, I'm extremely blessed, and I'll end it there. Thank you so much again for choosing me, and thank you for your service. And no matter what arena that we suffered these traumas, emotional, physical, they're human issues. And I believe that supporting each other through that, we can all get better. Thanks again.
I have one more. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have Stan Crater and Skylar Burgess. If they could please make their way to the stage, they would like to take a couple minutes to speak to the crowd this evening. Stan Crater and Skylar Burgess. Resurrecting Lives Foundation board members.
All right.
That's all.
Thank you.
There, sir.
I told. Am I on here? No. Are you on? I'm on. I don't know. Yeah, there we go. I told Stan I had his back, but really, as an Air Force guy, we were always in first. It was soften the beach so you can get in there. There you go. Go ahead. Okay. I found out just about 45 seconds ago that I was going to get up here and say something, but that's Chris Ann's style. Thank you, Chris Ann. It's an interesting story how I got connected with Resurrecting Lives, and I'd be happy to share that with you, but that takes a while. I wanted to just mention a couple things about the Midway that I thought would be interesting. About 6 or 8 years ago, we were being recognized, our company is being recognized for holding the position for Guard members who were being deployed. We got recognized in Missouri and Texas for that. While we were in Texas, the gentleman that presented us with the award, I found out that evening, was 5 years old when he and his father swam to the Midway from the beaches of near Saigon to be rescued. He grew up, and as soon as he could, he enlisted in the U.S. Army. So I thought that was pretty cool. But I just kind of tucked that away. And then today, on the flight out here, I thought, gosh, that was really interesting. That's remarkable. And I just hadn't connected the dots like I should have. But then, I got here about 10 o'clock this morning, so I came to the Midway right away to go through the museum. And my Uber driver, I'm on the way to the museum, he said, "Oh, I love the Midway." I said, "Really? Tell me a little bit about the Midway." My deal with Uber guys, if they talk to me, they get 5 stars. If they don't talk to me, they get 1 star. The guy today got 5 stars. His grandparents were rescued by the Midway. He was from Saigon. His grandparents were from Saigon. So I thought that was just really cool. So here we are at the Midway, and the Midway rescued 4,000 people from Vietnam, April 1975. We're celebrating Resurrecting Lives, which rescues thousands and thousands of veterans suffering from traumatic brain injury. So it's all about rescuing people. I thought that was pretty cool. Anyway, that's my story.
Thanks, Dan. I don't have any fancy stories about the Midway. I don't want to compete with the author and the artist, formerly known as Stan Crater. But and I got involved with Resurrecting Lives through a client pulling me into a golf outing to support it. And I heard Chris Ann, I heard the veterans speak that day. And I said, I've got to find out more about this organization. And I went and talked to Chris Ann afterwards. And 6 years later, I'm here today. And it's one of those things when you hear the story, it fills you with passion to do something for those who served and those that didn't come back the same way that many of us did. And we owe it to them. And it's my pleasure to be able to do that and work with Chris Ann and just a great group of people. I want to take just a special minute to thank in my day job, I work for Deloitte. And again, talking about supportive employers, I spent 23 years in the Air Force Reserve along with 6 years on active duty. And Deloitte was a great firm to work for during that time. Held my job, paid me when I was off, all those good things that allowed me to become the person I am today. So I thank them for that. And one of my dear friends, Julie Moran, San Diego office managing partners here today. And I want to thank Julie for all of her help and support in this. And then her wonderful husband, who I was able to meet through Julie, Dr. Mike Turtle. So I'm butchering your name, so forgive me. Anyway, with the Gary Sinise Foundation. So I want to thank both of you for being here today. Julie, you mean a lot to me, and Mike, it's great to meet you. So thank you. Thank you, Chris Ann. Thanks, everyone, for being here today.
All right, now the real moment we've all been waiting for. It is now my honor to invite Dr. Chris Ann Gordon up to the podium to discuss the featured short film we have all been waiting for, Brainstorms. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Gordon to the stage.
Can I see this? Can you turn that light back on, please? He turns the light off. Our whole thing is turn the lights on. And I get up here, my West Point quarterback. Thank you so much, Chad. Hasn't he done a great job, guys? I mean, really, he's absolutely terrific. I just love him. There's just a few people that I want to thank, and the first person is going to be very mad at me because Elle Crater does not like to get any kinds of accolades. She's our executive director, and she punches, more pounds of energy and intelligence in that little frame than anybody I know. I call her Mercury because she's kind of that dense with it. Elle, thank you so much. None of this would have happened. The mistakes that may go on, those are mine. The things that are going right, trust me, those are all Elle. So I really do appreciate it. And there's a few, thanks so much, Elle. There's a few folks that I would really like to thank as well. I do have to start by thanking, and I'm going to try and be composed saying this, Heidi Kraft, because when I called her and mentioned about what we were doing and that I really wanted her to be here, she said, did I really do anything for you? And I thought, this poor woman, like she'd been through all of this stuff, and I kept calling her, on Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 in the morning. Dr. Kraft, could I ask you this? Could I ask you that? Never once did she not answer. Never once did she give an explanation. And never once did she make me feel like I was an imposition. And if you want to know why we're here, Heidi Kraft, you were a major reason for that. And I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I really do. I've got to thank our Cincinnati connection, Connie Pillich and her husband Paul, and Woody Ubel, and he will also be upset with my saying this, but all my vets know this is true, okay? So when you're trying to change the world, it's not always as easy as you think it would be, right? So I spent a lot of things originally from my IRA and from my financial, and the only reason I had it to spend is because Woody Ubel, who was originally with Bartlett, now with Schaub, says to me, Christine, do you mind if you live kind of frugally? I just want kind of keep this stuff in reserve, and when you need it, just ask. Perfect. Trust Woody. That's what we did. And so when I said to him, I need X amount of dollars. What is that for? Well, that's to study the brain injuries in the IED blast. And Woody said, that's why you've been saving it. So I want to thank Woody. Woody, where are you? He's the tallest person here, so it's pretty hard to miss, You've already heard me thank many times my California family, Joe and Carol Berberick, who have been through so many things with me. And what I want to thank them the most for is when I say, what do you think if we have an event on the Midway? Oh, sure, Chrissy, that's a good idea. I really do appreciate that, guys, more than you know, not to mention the fact that Carol's probably created me 4,000 miles in California alone. We really do appreciate it. So did anybody show up here from the Intrepid Center? Did Dr. Bullock and his wife come? That's what I thought. Hello, thank you so much. I so appreciate that. Public Health Service, one of the only people I know beside my brother who spent time at the Navajo Nation in Shiprock, New Mexico. So thank you so much for everything you do. I absolutely adore the Intrepid Centers. I think they're so well named and so well run, and they are the most innovation traumatic brain injury that I know, and I really do appreciate it. I'm so sorry I didn't meet you yet, but hopefully before we end, okay? So just give me a shout out. I so do appreciate that. There's a whole group here up in front of folks partly from Columbus, partly from other things, but Dr. Peter Bickle, who is a retired U.S. Air Force Army Air National Guard colonel and optometrist. Dr. Bickle brought a group of interesting people with him. Dr. and Mrs. Brown from Colorado Springs, a gentleman that we just know as Bink, okay, and he's kind of the organizer of it all, and Mr. Bob Goodell, who I met the first time at the horse races, and he's definitely a hoot. So thank you so much. We really appreciate your being here. There is somebody in this audience who there's two people in this audience who I just met. One is sitting right here and will be our presenter at the end. This is a Navy reservist who I think is the veteran's answer to Leonardo da Vinci, and I'm not even kidding you with his artwork, but that he will be explaining after our film. Our film is Brainstorms, and what I am so thankful that Joe Pisano is presenting to us today is here's what happens with untreated, undiagnosed traumatic brain injury. And I will let him explain this thing because that's for you to do. And the second person who I have to say, honest to gosh, I was so afraid to meet her. She won't know this. Sandy Lemoncooler, who turned out to be one of the sweetest, kindest, most generous mentors I've ever met in my whole life. But I'd read all this about her, Freedom Station, Warrior Foundation, millions of dollars of fundraiser. She did it all on her own. And I'm sitting there thinking, my God, how does she do it? And she kind of gave me really good hope that maybe in another 10 years when I grow up, I'll understand how she does it. I really do appreciate it. And I cherish the fact that you are going to help me mentor something called fundraising. I go, fundraising? She goes, what is your fundraising plan? I go, ask Woody Ubel. He'll be here tonight so he'll do that. So thank you and your staff, Diane and Pam, so very much. I didn't meet Greg yet, but I hope to before he leaves. It really meant a lot. Okay. Anybody I missed? I should be able to say hello to everybody here with that. I think I kind of caught Command Sergeant Major Hall off guard. That was so great. I really do believe that in order to be around me, it takes more fearlessness than most. And it really has been very helpful. I really honor and admire my board and the people like, Connie Pillich, who was on our board that you could call, and they keep coming back. My friend Marianne Fida, who is a Blue Star mom. Her son Matt is a helicopter pilot and is serving right now, who said, are you having trouble out there in San Diego? This was the beginning of the week. I go, yeah, I don't know how to get around and I can't drive. And she goes, hey, I'll be there Thursday. And from Thursday till now has been a very long time for her, because she said, doesn't it seem we've been out here longer than this? I go, people say that around me all the time. Not a problem. I keep telling people, stick around me and your life will stretch right out. That's for sure. So I'm really very thankful that you all are here. And I had to save, the best for last, to tell you the truth. Because as a good book says, the last shall be first. And I'm already getting choked up when I think about every single veteran that I have met on this journey, because everything that you try to do for them, they give you back in spades. And Sandy, you were talking about that. You and all the folks at Freedom Station were saying the same thing. It is the most rewarding job that I've ever had, and I need to thank them, because I never feel like they're asking me anything. They're giving me so much back, and I really do appreciate that. I want to thank Ed Heckathorn, who's here with his wife, Michelle, who was my first veteran ever. And people say to me, do you have a favorite veteran? And I said, yeah, whoever I'm talking to at the time. And Sandy would agree with that, I know. Ed Heckathorn came in as a patient, and this isn't a HIPAA violation because I won't tell you. I mean, I'm on a musculoskeletal, so it's nothing racy, but he came in and he started talking to me. He had just gotten back from a tour of duty in Afghanistan, and he was the person who originally got me hooked. And God bless him. I mean, that was like 15 years ago, and he's been with me on this journey since, and came all the way from sunny Ohio, where it's snowing and 40-mile-an-hour winds and -0 temperature. So thank you for that sacrifice. We do appreciate that for sure. I want to thank Daryl Boggs and his wife Jody, and they are the main people responsible for our study that we were able to maneuver in New York, because they were the people who got everybody who needed to be there. And I thank them for being on call the entire weekends that our guys were being fixed, because they called you with questions that I didn't even know the answer for. So I wasn't familiar with the military, even though my father was an ensign in the Navy, which is why we are on this ship premiering this movie because if I were at an Army base, I know something bad would happen to me. I don't know what, for sure. So thank you so much. I'm coming all the way from Ohio as well. There is an amazing story about Corey O'Brien and his wife, Lindsay. And I would like Corey to stand up because I've seen, how to Ed, everybody saw at the bookstore, and Daryl and Jody. Do you want to stand up, Daryl and Jody? I know it's kind of hard. Oh, well, hello, people who look like them. Hello. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. Stand up. And Ed, did you stand up? Go ahead, hon. I do know where Ed is. Okay, gotcha. Good. Thank you. And then Corey and Lindsay. So, am I looking? Corey and Lindsay. Yes, thank you, Corey. Corey has been in charge of our Transcendental Meditation group. And he came to me with the idea, he and Lindsay, that there should be something that we could do for veterans. I said, well, what would you like to do? He goes, what about transcendental meditation? And I said, okay, you're in charge. And he goes, of what? I go, our new transcendental meditation. And he goes, what are you going to do? I go, I'll talk to the TM people. You just get your people together. And within 12 weeks, Corey drew about 14 people to safety that were not at all in safety at the beginning of those 12 weeks. And you went on to be Teacher of the Year, correct? I mean, of the district. And several others went on to get awards at their jobs that they were almost going to be losing. So Corey is a teacher. He definitely did this. And that's why you don't tell me what you think we need. Right? Okay. Rob and Becky Will. Rob, you've already seen him up here. Rob was a person who called me one dreary Saturday in the midst of all the civil unrest, and he said, there's something that we need to do for veterans, and he sounded so down and so low. So when I said to him, okay, well, what would you like us to organize? He said, could you get a comedy club together? And okay, I would have never thought of that in the multiple choice, but okay, yes, we'll do that. And then he says, and this is Saturday, and it's like 6:30 in the morning. He goes, can you get me Drew Carey? I said, pardon me? He goes, well, he's from Cleveland. I go, well, we can try. And luckily, we didn't quite get Drew, but he did watch their videos along the ways, although the first videos of the first presentation that the Berbericks and I were on, I finally said to him, and the halls will understand this. I go, I went to Catholic school, and I didn't understand 50% of what you just said, except I knew that it is not, for prime time. So they did really good. I never censor a veteran. I've never offered my life for free speech. I would never censor anything. I just wanted to let them know that I didn't quite get it. Okay. So you've already met Longhorn. Okay. I don't even know what to say about Longhorn. When he got on the Zoom, he had everybody on the Zoom, up to 55 people at a time, laughing for hours on end. And God bless him for putting on that hat and riding in here with his wife today. We so appreciate you and everything that you do. And again, like he says, anything you ask him to do, that man does, which is pretty much this whole team here. Okay. Andrew Young. Andrew, I need you to stand. I need you to come up here. Please. Okay, Andrew, you've been up here once. The reason why we didn't censor you, come on, we didn't censor you. We just said don't talk yet. Because let me tell you, where is Chad Jenkins? I'm like so afraid he's going to come here, tackle me, and drag me off the stage because I'm going over. I'm ad-libbing, but then he did too, so then I'm okay. Rob, I'd like you just to say a couple words, okay, about your amazing weekend. Would you mind?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Right there.
So I'm in California this weekend, which the last time I stepped foot in this state, I was 3, being moved out by an abusive stepfather. That's why I became a comedian in the first place, was to process that abuse. Man, Doc, you put me on the spot here. Growing up, I didn't know my biological father. I'm 37 now. Thanks to DNA testing and, science, Doc, I was able to meet eventually my biological father, who I'd never met before, this weekend. And lucky enough, thank you. Luckily, he was able to join me tonight, so Dad. Now, I don't know if you can see the family resemblance or not. And here's the issue. Usually that comedy, that humor she didn't get, a lot of that was mine. And a lot of, because a lot of it wasn't so positive. Rob, when I got into stand-up comedy, I did it to process being so introverted and nervous about being around people. As you can tell, I still have issues with it. I actually, while I do stand up, I don't enjoy it as I should because of the social impairment, but it's been a therapeutic form, especially through the pandemic. And knowing that we can help others, Rob, Longhorn, and all of, how many comedians did we have this last year helping us? Because it wasn't, I mean, the Berbericks were at every show. I mean, we've had tons of shows, tons of comedians, and all we wanted to do was make people laugh through this. And man, you guys, you pulled it off. And even though we may not have gotten Drew, I mean, we got a community, we got a family, we got we got everything, Doc. And we, you know, we have you to thank for all of this. So, you know, thanks everybody.
There is a great family resemblance, by the way. And I'll tell you what some of those jokes were after this, let me tell you for sure. All right, I had to save Christopher Lawrence for a reason. Because Christopher Lawrence is like better than Kevin Bacon. Because he's not 6 degrees of separation. He's like 1 degree of separation. So, you know, I called up Sandy Lemico. She says, well, who are some of your veterans? I said, well, a couple of them are from San Diego. Like, who? And I said, Christopher Lawrence. He goes, oh, he fundraises for us. He's one of ours. I go, well, he's one of ours too. Isn't that great, you know? And then I call up Marianne Fida's group, the Veterans Airlift Command, which her husband Tim is at, and Walter Fickey, the CEO, goes, oh, we flew Christopher Lawrence from Walter Reed to Balboa. Do you know Christopher Lawrence? Yes, I do. He's been on VA commercials. He's been on game shows. He's like, every time you turn around, there's Christopher Lawrence. And my claim to fame with him is not only does he have a voice that James Earl Jones is trying to get, not only does he sound like 6'2", but he's like the nicest guy in the world, because when I mentioned to him early on that, you know, so you were a Marine? And this very gentle presence that was like, probably says, ma'am, I am a Marine. And I never made that mistake again. And I'm so thankful that he's there, because he's been here since the beginning, too, and was one of the 5 guys with TBIs like Ed who went and got the first legislation ever mentioning TBI at Congress. And we thank you for all of your service, for sure. So what I wanted to say is, you know, I cherish you guys. I cherish your families. I cherish your stories. And where you think that I have heard everything, each and every individual story is totally different. And Sandy, Pam, Diane agree from when we were talking, everything is unique. And I want you to know that no matter how long I am on this planet, I will know you each by heart. Please feel free to call. And now, after that, you're going to soon be meeting my new favorite veteran, my best friend veteran that I've known for all of 36 hours maybe, who put up these awards for us after we have the movie Brainstorms. Unfortunately, Julie Pacino and her crew are now on COVID quarantine, something that we found out on Thursday. I was actually with Sandy and the crew there, and she looks at me, she says, you'll think of something. And I didn't, but God did and gave us Joe, so we have that to fill in. Brainstorms will be giving you an idea of what it's like. And all of these veterans who are here shared their stories, their buddies' stories, their family stories with Julie and her crew, which is why they're here. And I think that takes fearlessness and courage to do so. So I'm hoping that my IT people, I didn't mess up as I did before, although at least I'm getting a little bit of a AV education here, that when I said cue the Apple commercial, they cued the Tiny Apples production. That was the beginning little glitch there. So I'm going to try and be perfectly clear here. Could we go to the Tiny Apples? And ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pride that we give you Brainstorms. Oh, no, please. You know, I know our vets realize, no. For all of them, yes. I've got to say that part of my story is in there too, and it's hard to see your own story up there. So guys, I told them that they had to put mine in if they're putting some of yours, you know. Julie and Aaron couldn't be here. We will be getting links to you all. They are going to, on Tuesday from 6 to 7 Eastern Standard Time, be getting a link, and I'll kind of send it out through the info at Resurrecting Lives group there, so that you can call in and Zoom at 7 p.m. and still ask them questions. All of that link was supposed to be at the end of that, which is why I was still going to be sitting there until it did. But apparently it isn't. And why should there not be one more mistake? I mean, honest to gosh. So we will be getting that to you all so that you can still talk to them, even though that they weren't here. What I'd like to say is, again, thank everybody who contributed to that. And it just is very interesting what you all went through. I was the person who was just pushing the box and hit the wall. And all I could think of is how stupid was that? And that little movement changed my entire life. And without it, I would have never met all you. So I really do appreciate it, God. Sometimes he has to knock me against the brick wall. Right now, I would like to introduce, come on, my new best friend, my new best veteran friend. I'd like to say I knew him all my life, but I've known him for the last 40 hours. And he put together this great display for us. So I would like you, Joe, to explain your story, because you know you a whole lot better than I do. But thank you for your last minute and coming in and setting all this up for us today. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Christy. Thank you very much. So I really don't know why I'm here. And that's kind of the sad part of it, is that for a lot of our veterans, that's the question we ask. I have a couple of stories to tell you. So a lot of people ask me, how much did it cost to make these pieces? So Veterans Day, I was able to present these two pieces, and on Veterans Day, most people will say Happy Veterans Day, shake your hand, thank you for your service. So I have art pieces. I started in 2018 building a military portfolio of tribute, memorials, and honoring our veterans and service members. This is not the case here. For a lot of veterans, it wasn't a happy Veterans Day. They're actually struggling. We have service members that are struggling to stay alive. We have veterans that are struggling to even stay warm at night, whether it be on a park bench or on a cold cement floor. So these two pieces actually inspired by them. So on the left of you is called Invisibilia. Now, here in California, it's estimated about 11,000 to 12,000 homeless veterans exist. This piece is made with over 14,000 drywall screws, and I hope you get a chance to walk up and actually touch it and look at it close. I think that this is actually a more accurate number of our veterans that are in California. So each screw actually represents a veteran that is struggling with staying warm at night. I want to thank my daughter Katerina, because she actually helped me paint the background. And after she finished and she had these big old smiles, and I looked back and I was about to, continue it, and I stepped back and it's perfect. I didn't want to touch it after that. So thank you, Katerina, for painting the background. So on your right is called Operation Zero. Raise your hand if you know about the number 22. Okay. So 22, for those who don't know, is the average of service members that commit suicide every day. So this piece is called Operation Zero. It's to bring the veteran suicide down to zero. It's comprised of about 2,200 drywall screws. The stars, there's 5 of them to represent the 5 branches of service. And there's 22 eternal lights. And right now, 5 of the lights are dedicated to family members that have lost a loved one to suicide. Their dog tag has been embossed and placed inside that piece. I think that there's 2 perfect medicines: laughter, which I really appreciate the comedians out there, and art, regardless of the medium: music, theater, painting, sculpting, dance. These are the 2 forms of medicine that really can reach any and everyone. And I'll leave it up to the doctors to work on the other aspects of healing and getting our veterans and our people better. But I have a quick story to tell you. And again, it goes back to how much did it cost to make this piece? That's usually a standard question. So I have an art piece in Orange County Fairgrounds at the Heroes Hall Museum. It's an American flag. It's comprised of over 4,300 drywall screws. It has 3 frames on it and signed by veterans from all branches of service, including 2 MWDs, which are the military working dog. And it'll be there until January. So I had the first frame full of signatures. I'm ready to do the second frame. One day I go to a customer's house and I knock on his door and he answers it and we're talking, and then all of a sudden I said, "You must be military." He goes, "Well, how do you know?" "I know, I'm a chief." So we continued our dialogue, and I broke out my phone and I started showing him pictures of this flag, and I said, I would be really honored if, once I finished the second frame, that you would sign it. And so he just started crying, big tears, just really going at it, right? And he goes, "You have to forgive me, Joe." And I said, "No worries." And so I'm listening to him, and he goes, "Well, when I came back, I had to take off my uniform and put on civilian clothes. People spat at me and cussed at me and called me names. They ended up breaking my nose, and 40 years, I didn't say a thing about being a veteran. Kept it quiet." He goes, "You're the first person to actually acknowledge me as a veteran." And I started crying with him. I said, "Okay, we have a date. As soon as I make that second frame, I'm going to call you up. We'll have you sign it." So sure enough, I made the frame. He signed it. I invite him to every venue from this point on. He's very proud to be a veteran now. So if you're not aware, he was a Vietnam veteran, Air Force. So that's one story. The second story, at the museum, I had Veterans Day, I was kind of spread thin, so I had to leave the museum, and I came back, and as I was walking in, another veteran actually signed the frame, the third frame, and the instructions were you couldn't sign the frame unless I was there, just to make sure that it was a veteran. So he signs it, and he's turning to me as I'm walking towards him, and I notice he has his ball cap on, and it's Korean veteran. And we embraced, and I said, "I really appreciate your service." And he's crying at this point and really thanking me. And he's thanking me for the artwork, because he was looking at all the names. So there's veteran signatures from World War I all the way to Afghanistan. And again, he's very emotional, and his daughter's right there with him. And I said, "Well, I'm really excited, a Korean War veteran. Not a lot of people know about the Korean War vets or the war itself." So I said, "Well, I plan on doing this huge, monumental, epic war memorial piece, and I would really like it, for you to see it." And he goes, "Well, I'm not going to be around." And then he goes, "Oh, I have nothing to live for. I just lost my wife, and I'm dying of cancer." I said, "Oh, hell no. You have a date with me next Veterans Day, because I'm going to complete it by then. I'm going to reach out to you. I'm going to dedicate the Korean memorial part to you and the Korean veterans. No, you got to stick around. I need to collaborate with you." And at that point, he smiled a bit. He chuckled a little bit. And his daughter, looked over and goes, "That's the first time I've seen him smile and laugh, and I don't know how long." So you ask me how much this costs or this costs. You can't put a price on life. So that's the price of these pieces, is that we save lives. So whether you're reaching out to a veteran who's in a dark place and you can get them to laugh and forget about the pain just for a moment, or reach out to a veteran and have them be proud of something that at one point they weren't. This is what these art pieces are, and I'm hoping that this just stimulates dialogue, that which will in turn stimulate action, because without action, dialogue is pointless. So again, Chrissy, I just want to say thank you for letting me be here and checking out this cool venue. And again, thank you all. I appreciate you completely. So thank you.
Okay, guys, I think that concludes tonight's event. It's really funny. It was interesting to me that somebody said, you know, how do you do it? How do you really want to take care of 750,000 veterans? And I'll leave you with this thought, and people who know me and know my history know this is true. It is much easier for me to deal with 750,000 brain-injured veterans from the global war of terror than one guy with an ego living with me at home. So thank you all so much. I really do appreciate it. Okay.